Can print and digital content forms coexist without cannibalizing one another?
I think that they can. I think if you look at the history of media, there have been a lot of new forms of media that have come up, such as when there was radio, TV came out, and it didn't necessarily cannibalize radio. Radio didn't necessarily cannibalize newspapers. They kind of created a new form of media with a new following. And I think with print and ebooks, we've done some surveys of our audience at MediaShift and asked, what do you prefer when it comes to books, print or ebooks? And a lot of people still have a strong desire for print. They still prefer it. And other people, for whether portability, whether it's cheaper, they like seeing things on digital. I think it's just different. It's a different way of experiencing that content. And so I think that there is a rise in e-content. There's definitely more ways to get it, but I don't think it necessarily means that print will go away anytime soon.
Okay. How do you view self-publishing? Is the recent success of some authors a trend, or are they more outliers?
I think that it is. I think it started out as an outlier, and I think now, because there's more and more cases of self-published authors doing well, and that could be not only self-published authors who might have been unknown previously, but also well-known authors kind of taking their own power and deciding they're going to publish themselves because they're already well-known and they don't necessarily need a publisher to help them out. So I think self-publishing is definitely becoming an important trend, and it's also a way of giving a voice to a lot more people that didn't have a voice, that would have had to go through getting an agent, getting a publisher, getting distribution. All those things are becoming possible now. Just because everyone does have a voice and can self-publish, does that mean that they're all going to break through, that they're all going to be great? Of course not. And that's the same thing we've seen with blogs, podcasts, and so many other digital media have started out where there might be a few that have broken through and everyone says, hey, this is the way to do it. I need to do that too. But it comes down to what is the quality of what you're doing. Is the book worthwhile that you're self-publishing? Is the blog that you're doing worthwhile? It's possible to self-publish and succeed, but you still need to start with something of quality that people are going to want.
Right. Is self-publishing a serious threat to traditional publishers? And how do you see the role of the traditional publisher changing?
I think it is a threat to some extent. I don't know that self-publishing will completely take down the entire traditional book publishing world. Again, I think that there are different ways of doing it. I think there's different ways of being published, different ways of being read. So at the moment, I don't see that happening necessarily. I think it is a threat to some extent. I think that it can become kind of its own market of self-published titles. And I think that the publishers, the challenge for publishers right now is, what is their value to readers? What is their value to authors? They have to provide something that they can't get just by doing it themselves. You could self-publish a book, but can you get distribution? Can you get noticed? Can you get marketing? Those are all things that traditionally the publisher has given for authors to some extent. Now, a lot of these publishers don't really market all their authors. They might market their biggest authors. So this is a time where I think publishers, this is a real kind of soul-searching moment for publishers where they're really going to have to think, how do we serve this kind of self-publishing market that's cropping up, that's really starting to explode? And they want to be a part of that in some way, whether it's getting a self-publishing platform, whether it's reaching out to more people, whether it's opening their doors to more authors. They have to figure out what their role is because they are being disintermediated to some extent. And that happened, and you could look back to the music industry, the same kind of thing happened where there was a question, what is the role of a record label? Do we need record labels? Can't an artist just upload their stuff, get it on iTunes, get it onto YouTube and be successful? Well, the record labels had to do soul searching and realize, hey, we aren't just about making a CD, making a product. We're also about, let's say, managing the artist, helping develop them. So the publishers have to think about what is their role, what is the thing that they are providing that of value to the author and to the readers, because it's basically, if the author can go directly to the readers, they won't need a middleman. Unless there's some kind of service that is vital to both sides, then there's no role for them.
Right. So for my last question, and shifting gears just a little bit, how are social media and technology affecting or influencing consumers, how they're getting their news? And how is it affecting how media outlets are reporting the news?
Social media and technology has completely changed to some extent. When it comes to news and journalism, it's really changed what the agenda that is brought by a lot of the news media. In other words, it used to be that the New York Times editorial board or the people on their editorial staff would get together in a meeting to say, here are the top stories. We're going to put this on the New York Times front page tomorrow. Right. And those people decided, a lot of the TV news came from that. A lot of radio news came from that. They were kind of deciding, here's what's important. Now that is shifting to a big extent because you're seeing news break all over the place and gain prominence because of blogs, because of social media, because of trending topics, because of so many other things, that it leaves this kind of small group of people who had a lot of power in the journalism and news world are losing that power. It's being, spread out to so many other sources. There's so many other places that news comes from that the people who used to be kind of the gatekeepers of news are now having to kind of deal with a whole lot more gatekeepers and a whole lot of other sources for information.
Right.
It's not just coming from those three, anchors who are telling us what's going on in ABC and NBC. I mean, this stuff has changed radically from where it was 20 years ago and even 5 years ago. Twitter wasn't around, pre-2006. So this is something that's changed very recently, and it's hard to even say where it's going to go, but it's had a major shift on the source of news, on where news comes from, on how it's sourced by journalists, whether they trust information they're getting from, let's say, a YouTube video shot inside of Syria versus having a journalist on the ground in Syria. There's information coming out of war zones and other places that we never really had access to before because of internet, because of ways that people can have speech in places that they never really had before, because there was such a control and such a clampdown on the information that came out on TV, the information that came out on newspapers, because those are controlled by many states. The internet has played a vital role, and digital media has played a vital role in getting information out to publics that are, having problems getting that information.
Right. Thank you very much for talking with me.
Thanks.